Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. Today we have the much requested and until now very much ignored Kobalt XTR high torque impact wrench from Lowe's to see how it stacks up against the new Flex, also from Lowe's, also 24 volt, and also made by Shervon. While the two tools have different power specs, different lengths, widths, and features, Flex has been earning the name of Gray Kobalt around YouTube lately due to the quite similar manufacturing source, voltage, and retail store these two lines share. So we're interested if the Dyno also sees these tools so similarly today. We'll also be comparing the power these tools make versus the M18 2767-20 towards the end of this episode to help settle that debate among your friends. Then tally the points of this Kobalt on a rank chart to see where this immense impact stacks up on our sliding scale of standings. Right off the bat, it's worth highlighting how massive this thing is. It is somehow both super chunky like a Makita and super long. Even a touch longer than the Harbor Freight 20 volt Earthquake, and that tool has a brushed motor. And even rocking that, it's about the same weight as this Kobalt XTR. This particular tool was provided to us by a kind vetted viewer, Trevor, who, like many of you, wanted to see how well a tool like this could do versus what else is out there. Whether it's because of its massive size or a very low price point for the kit, people want to know. This KXIW1424A-03 is essentially the most affordable modern cordless high torque you can buy as a kit at $269. That doesn't put it heaps below the $299 Flex we'll be comparing against to today, and that's only $10 under the Earthquake. But Lowe's did recently and has more than once sold this kit for as little as $199. $199 as a kit is a lower price than any of the high torques we've tested so far sell for bare on our rank chart. So of course there are other even more wallet friendly options like this one out there. We feel the XTR represents pretty much the cheapest actual high torque contender of the modern age that you'll see from an actual brand. And in that penny pinching kit comes Kobalt's 4 amp hour battery, but as luck would have it, that 4 amp hour pack is the ultimate output variety that uses those 21700 high discharge rate cells also found in Milwaukee's high output line. While being an older tool than the new Flex model that's also from Shervon, those 21700 cells could help to even the playing field considering the 5 amp hour pack that comes in the Flex uses 18650s. You'll need to upgrade to their 6 amp hour pack for the special sauce. When it comes to the specs, the two tools from Shervon play a bit of game of cat and mouse here. The Flex advertises 800 forward, which is 50 more than the XTR, and the XTR advertises 1200 nut busting, which is 50 more than the Flex's 1150. Seems a bit trivial to play that game of switch up, but we'll see today if that forward versus reverse phenomenon holds true. Let's get into that and see. The Flex advertises a 4.5% increase over the XTR and forward. So here's our 5-second forward working torque test. Median results of 3 tests shown on screen as usual. Up first is the Flex. And here's our XTR's debut run. The XTR makes 460 in our 5-second forward tests versus the Flex's 484. Pretty spot on with their differential so far, as that's 5%. If that holds true, in our next test, we should have the XTR coming out on top. Here's our max torque 10-second reverse test with the Flex up first. And here's the XTR in reverse. Compare that to the Flex, and they are basically interchangeable here, which maybe so far is not all that surprising, being both 24 volt high torques from the same company. But one difference you will notice, and heck, maybe this is the only difference you'll notice besides size, is the wrist torquing action. The Flex, with its shock shield design, something we fully endorse as cordless tools are terrible about this compared to air, got a 5.0 in our wrist breaking score, the lowest, which is best, of any cordless in the category. The XTR, while making around the same power, does get higher points from us on this subjective scale, a 6.5 with its both radial torquing and jumbling around action, but neither are sort of the teeth-jarring variety. Higher and noticeable than the Flex for sure, but not a M18 high torque sort of nuisance. Speaking of that M18 high torque, let's see how that stacks up as well today. First up in our final best case scenario test is the XTR, with the Flex also shown on screen on the chart. When we're looking at its best run from the Flex, it comes out on top, barely. That's 654 versus 643. That's a small gap for sure, but one Shervon claims should not exist, as the Kobalt is rated for 50 foot-pounds more than the Flex in this reverse direction. Then again, we're splitting hairs here within the margin of error between tools and runs. Let's actually see how an M18 high torque stacks up when you're comparing against these two tools. This is the M18 in its reverse best case scenario test to match these ones we're showing here, which is a test for the M18 we've rarely shown on the channel. So even though the M18 does a bit better in forward than in reverse, shown here, yeah, it's not a photo finish. But considering both Kobalt and Flex make no claim to that 1,400 pixie dust torques that the M18 does, seems to be that they're being pretty reasonable. Let's see, when you take into account that on our rank chart, just how this XTR lands. Starting here, while we tally its points, it gets 46, 60, and 64 points for its power runs. At 9.8 inches long, whoo boy, she's gonna make you blush when you come across something like this in a locker room. That makes for 65.8 foot-pounds per inch, really not breaking any records with that. The XTR only claims 750 tightening torque though, which is sort of what we're testing in both forward and reverse. That's on the modest side compared to what we're used to seeing, and it gets 86% of its torque claim, which is some of the best we've seen. Some honest marketing there, we think. For price, this is one of those that gets an asterisk. It's not sold as a bare tool at all, which is what everything else on this list is shown as. So it gets $199 from us, and that's even what Lowe's can sometimes sell this whole kit for. But $199 still makes this the cheapest high torque on our list, so it fits just fine, making for 48.5 points and totaling 370.1, or enough for 10th place overall, right below the Flex with its 373.6 points. Our rank list coming to the same conclusion as we did today, that these two tools, with a few differences, really just sort of mirror each other in the category and just provide people already within the XTR or Flex battery family a very capable high torque. And considering the price of this XTR, you could very easily do worse walking out of a store with an impact wrench. After all, if someone is mainly worried about lug nuts or the occasional very accessible stuck chassis or suspension bolt, you might find yourself walking out of the store for less coin with this whole kit in your hand than a bare Milwaukee or Makita mid-torque that makes 30 to 40% less beans. Our next half-inch high torque episode in a couple videos from now will be the other hardware store's high torque, the Rigid Octane. Sorry it's taken us so long to get there, but with its sky-high specs, should be a good one. Subscribe to tune in, and thanks for watching.